Hear me? We good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we made it.
Ooh, let's get that out of there. This is coffee.
Yeah, of course. 8:30 at night.
All right, see some people are jumping in here. Welcome to the first multi-person live stream here at my place. Hopefully it sounds good. Let us know. I'm turning my headphones up. How you good?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we're here to kind of pre-announce. You obviously can't see it, but we've been. What is this thing called? So this is Tim Vitullo. He's my partner in crime here. We just about to release here in a couple of weeks our first album, LUNR ECCOS. So if you've been checking this out on social media, we have not posted any samples of this record yet.
Yeah.
This is the first time. So if you caught the pre-show, that was the opening cut, first time through. I figured tonight, because it's an hour-long record, they're long tracks. We can't do the whole thing.
Yeah. Got to leave a few things under wraps.
We've got to leave a few things. So let's just talk about the record first. I want to play, which one do you want me to play, and we kind of talk over it first?
Why don't we start with Last Time Through, because that was
Okay.
kind of that was one of the first tracks that we hit on that was oh, I think we might have something here.
Yeah, I was going to play this one first too, as well. So we're on the same wavelength. So we, hey, what's up, Mo? Super stoked for the album release. Thanks. Do you know?
Oh yeah, Mo. Yeah. Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining.
So we started getting together about a year ago, I think. At this point.
Yeah.
And we recorded every time we got together.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was good. Sometimes it was like, okay, there's kernels of ideas. The last tune on the record is called Last Time Through. It was originally called First Time Through because it was an improvisation that we just kind of hit some magic.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a name for it. So I just said, this is the first time through. And I sent a second version. I called it Second Time Through.
Yeah.
So it ended up becoming the end of the record, and it was now Last Time Through. I'll just play a little bit of it, and then we can kind of talk about the record. So this is all improvised, somewhat composed ideas, all performed live in my studio, no overdubs, no editing.
And just the two of us.
And just the two of us.
Yeah, no guests.
So there's looping on your behalf, so we'll kind of talk about that in a minute. Let's just get into a little bit of it here. So this is Last Time Through, off of LUNR ECCOS. We'll get through like the main form, and then we'll chat. Now the loop starts.
Yep.
Right? So that's a loop.
Yeah, right, yeah.
The guitar part is a loop. Now you're playing over top of it. We're having to listen
Very
to
intently.
no headphones, no click track.
No, yeah.
This time the melody comes in.
Right, yep.
Then we take it to space. So before we get into that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when we first did this. Did you have a kernel of this pre-written, or was it all spur of the moment?
No, it was all spur of the moment. I think it was either the first or maybe the second time we got together, very early on, because I think then we would kind of like, in the session, we would kind of work on two ideas.
Right.
We would spend a lot of time on one idea, and I think you had maybe stepped away to get something to drink or what have you, and I was just noodling with some things and kind of fell into that melody.
Yeah.
Kind of picking out that chord, and you came back and were like, "Oh, what is that? What are you doing there? Let's dive into that."
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember walking away. We walked away from that session like, "Oh, this felt really good," and the pieces kind of came together pretty naturally.
And there's like an extra couple bars or one bar in the phrasing there.
Yeah, that on that first chord. That's something I always really like to do. I know, like, anybody who's played like stuff I've written before, they get a little frustrated.
5-bar phrases.
Yeah, just like odd, like extra measures here, and there's like that little repeated kind of phrase at the end of the melody there in that section. Yeah, and it just felt really nice, and kind of subverts your expectation a little bit. You don't kind of get you don't like fall asleep because it kind of gives you that extra like yank over here for a bar.
Yeah, what I really like about it is that first chord, it almost feels like, okay, they're just vamping on one chord.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, it didn't change, so there must be vamping on one chord. And then it changes.
Pull the rug out from under you. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, special thanks to E.G. Dukoski, who designed the artwork for the record.
Mm-hmm.
I think captured the essence of what we were doing perfectly.
Totally.
With almost no direction.
Yeah.
I basically said this is a story of a journey through space and back, and that's kind of what he came up with. And Joe Ferrara for the mix. Again, I gave him carte blanche, do whatever the heck you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think he brought just a whole other layer of excitement to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then your guy, Barack, mastered it, Spies.
Yeah.
So everyone just was like, yeah, I want to do this. So
yeah, it was very effortless. And I know whenever we kind of put it together, there was a little bit of anxiety about. It is a little left of center. Are people going to be excited about it, or especially some of these tracks to like mix and master? Some of them are in excess of 15 minutes. That's a marathon.
Joe's up for it. I've been working with Joe for years doing very long, very complex arrangements of his that he'll mix it. Some have a couple hundred tracks or something crazy, like full like big band orchestra, rock band, layers of vocals. So I knew he would have fun with it, and I think he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if we've actually talked about the narrative of this record. I have a very specific narrative that this record tells me.
Yeah, you go first, because I think we kind of meet in the middle on a lot of the ideology of what the pieces are about.
Yeah. So this tune, I'll let it play a little bit more so you can kind of hear where it goes. Once we got this tune, to me it was like that's the keystone for the entire record.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of tells the whole story. I hear this track is you're in outer space, orbiting Earth, nice calm orbit in a circular pattern. At some point you've got to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So then once you start to make that decision, we're coming back to Earth, gravity kind of gets shifted and wobbly, and everything is disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets violent, because coming back into Earth is a very violent experience.
Yeah.
And then you arrive and you're like, okay, here I am back on Earth.
Yeah.
So it's this weird kind of like distorted, kind of confused landing, and like, okay, we're back here again. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something I purposefully did, that initial chunk of the melody, that melodic piece comes back at different points in the song, almost like, it's a comforting sort of like security blanket, in the midst of all this chaos. This simple melodic idea is something that, you keep humming and keep repeating to yourself to stay together and keep everything, and it pervades throughout the entire process of that, from being up to re-entry to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, almost the shell shock of, oh, you've splashed
We're
out.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Mm.
I originally thought, like, this is a story of a naive person or people or whatever, creatures that want to just go for it. They want to shoot for the moon, figuratively, literally.
Yep.
They get all the way out there and they realize this maybe isn't what I wanted or what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to take it back a little bit so we hear some of that melody. And then we didn't talk about any of this.
No.
So it just kind of became this. So this is the end of the melody. What's up, EJ? EJ's in the chat.
Nice.
Soon to be neighbor-ish.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Pittsburgh.
All right, so it's the end of to me, the peaceful, serene orbit around space. And then this is, now your gravity's starting to pull you back in. Everything's a little like, whoa, wobbly.
Yeah. And just, I haven't listened in headphones in a while, but how he mixed the toms kind of swirl around you.
Yeah.
This is a great record if you have a nice set of headphones, whenever you get your hands on it.
So it just gets more and more intense. What are you doing here? Are you looping stuff?
Yeah, so this is another kind of, it's the same approach we did for like some of the like preppertronics, but instead of the loops decaying and dying, they just continually build. There's no decay. So it just keeps adding more information each time.
So to me, there's a, I'm kind of like an old space travel nerd. There's a collection of recordings of astronauts like going to space and back. They're all available on NASA for free. I downloaded them all because they're so amazing, like from the 60s, the early Apollo missions and stuff. There's one when, I can't remember if it's John Glenn or someone is re-entering, and he says, "We have the Fireflies."
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which basically is like, the sky is burning around me. So we're almost at the Fireflies.
Yeah.
When you do that weird this to me is the Fireflies.
Yeah.
Like, oh shoot, here we go.
Yeah.
Stuff's about to get real nuts.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, I want the drums to sound like they're backwards, but I'm playing them forwards.
Yeah, it just feels like, things, you're losing control. Like things are happening at an irregular and unpredictable pace now.
Yeah, it's almost like parallel universes are colliding or something. And we've never talked about any of this, really.
No.
Now, I feel like I'm playing the role of the space shuttle just spinning crazy out of control.
Tumbling, yeah.
And you're still like the sky on fire.
Yeah. And then I loved all these like robotic noises too, just like sensors. And
Yeah.
just that like sensory overload of all these things kind of coming at you.
It could almost be like transmissions from Earth. Like you can't hear them because you're going so freaking fast. It's a hummable ditty. Now, to me, it's like, oh, we're in the atmosphere now. The ship is starting to shimmy.
Yeah.
This is the do or die moment. Like, are you the hero just screaming like a cowboy, like, let's go?
Or terrified.
Or terrified.
Yeah.
This, to me, everything's starting to come back together.
And this is that all this big fuzzy chords, like that's like the shaking your entire
Yeah,
down.
There's the theme coming back. It's almost like you can see that the ground is starting to appear.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, are we gonna make it? I'm purposely playing as fast as my body can play.
Yeah.
I can't play any faster.
And then here it's just, I can't keep together anymore.
Hello, Pacific Ocean. Then I'm like the bubble, you know, you're like in the water. Joe, again, he put those swirly, it sounds like we're in water.
Yeah.
He didn't know, we didn't talk about any of this stuff. It's like a buoy, like.
Yeah, right.
And then finally someone opens the hatch and scrambling for my brushes.
Yeah.
And that's the loop.
We're back. Yeah, right.
So we had to somehow maintain memory of the tempo.
Yeah. Almost this second time around after you've been through that, it almost has like a nostalgic
Yeah.
quality to it.
Yeah, it feels like a different color. It's almost like the end of a horror movie when it's like it's all serene and like, but
Yeah.
something's wrong, you know? Like something's not, there's a sequel. So that's last time through. For me, that established everything we were going to do for this batch of things. Originally, I thought I was going to be doing some looping with electronics, and I felt like all the looping is your world for this record because it sets such like a soundscape, and then having free-form drums over top of it, that kind of rub to me is really interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun. I had just upgraded before we started getting together to a looper that had a lot more functionality to it. I was really using a very basic one for kind of creative, different things here and there. And that really did open up a lot of things. The other thing that really cemented was it gave us a blueprint of how to do like I've been calling it like atemporal, like out of time looping.
Mm-hmm.
I know we initially were thinking maybe something groovier was going to be what this ended up being, but we did find some struggles with trying to like living on the loop and letting the loop kind of be like the de facto like rhythm section.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was kind of the whenever we did this, it really to me was like, oh, okay, here's a new way to approach looping. It's not just, you know, a third band member or
Yeah, right.
a way to comp with yourself. Like something I think that's really fun about that one specifically in the kind of improvised section, it's almost like having, you know, you're almost trading with yourself because the loop is coming back around and playing melodic ideas you've played in the past.
Yeah.
So now you're getting that in your ear to respond to, and I find that really inspiring and fun as an improviser.
And having it all come through one amp.
Mm-hmm.
And having to just control the machine itself.
Yeah.
You know, not have it just catch on fire.
Yeah, right. It's these were truly performances, not, you know, to get everything to line up. Because as you said, there were no overdubs, there was no redos.
Yeah.
There was no like, oh, can I go back and fix that?
Nope.
Because again, it was all one amp. You couldn't cut anything out. You couldn't edit any of that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was learning how to make it all balance and play together, for sure.
Yeah, there's some bits of it. I was just listening to a bunch of Max Roach records with Throck and Tom Wendt, and there was one in particular where he was playing a solo where they had the mic so hot you could hear him inhaling.
Oh, wow.
You could hear his hard bottom shoes tapping on the floor. It was like that is it. Like that's what I want to document as human beings being creative. So there's some of that here. You can hear you hitting pedals every once in a while. You can hear me quickly fumbling for the brushes because I've got mallets and I'm like, shit, where are my brushes? Because they would somewhere at some point in the beginning they disappeared out of my hands, so I had to like scramble to grab them.
Yeah, and it was this was such a humanizing experience for me because of that. There wasn't any redos, you know, in kind of the computer recording world. Everything's fixable, everything's tweakable. You know, I can reamp whatever I want and make infinite changes. I really had to like live with my own imperfections and idiosyncrasies and like, no, hey, that's what you did in that moment and it's beautiful because of all that, not in spite of it.
Yep, I'm having to accept that. You know, and I think this process has been good for me because I in general hate listening to myself, hate listening to myself speak, hate seeing myself on camera, and having to listen back every week to me trying to be as vulnerable as possible. And I could hear it when I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
You know, I could hear it. Like, it wasn't even that the notes were bad. It was just like, this isn't locking. There's, you know, something there. I had a blockage mentally or something. I still don't think I've figured out how to, like, we just rehearsed the tune 3 times. It was the third time when finally I was like, all right, now I'm in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like, what?
Yeah. That's really hard. That's been a struggle for me too it's not like a quick 8 bars solo section or like, hey, go around for 3 or 4 choruses or what have you.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. It's, you know, it's just you and me, and there, like you said, something that's so beautiful is there is so little communication about what we're going to do in those less composed sections. And you just have to be open to whatever happens. You have to be open to explore and to push and really lean on, all the good practice you do to free yourself up for that.
I want to play, so again, we didn't talk about the concept, but that tune to me kind of shaped the whole arc. So then it's literally a story of whatever. I originally thought it was like a metaphor of a young adult who wants to pack the van and just drive around the country and quote unquote get lost, you know, and adventure into the unknown, which could then be metaphorically be you're in outer space. Like how the hell do I, and you see how small the earth is and all that kind of stuff. So the second tune, with the first actual tune, Van Life, was something you had written already ahead of time.
Yeah.
Ish, or like fully composed? I don't remember.
I had like the head.
Yeah.
The top piece of it. Actually, it was something I wrote for a podcast. Cousins actually did that during the pandemic. Tricked out a van and did the whole thing, and they had a podcast about what that story was like, and they were focusing on different towns they stopped in. So they came to stay with us as part of their trip. They were making their way down the East Coast, and we were kind of talking, and like, yeah, we're looking for music to like back up the podcast, and it was like, well, I'm not doing anything.
No one is.
Yeah, if you're looking. And it went really well, and did a bunch of episodes for them, and that was one of the pieces, and it was trying to kind of capture exactly that feeling, that kind of great wide expanse in front of you, and kind of looking out and throwing your voice out into it, and it just reverberating out and expanding limitlessly. So it was fun. It was really cool to be able to repurpose that for this, because I always really liked that melody and kind of how it sits on a guitar. It really lets the instrument really breathe and ring out in a special way.
Yeah, I think it fits the narrative perfectly. It's the earthy story of Last Time Through, which is it's almost like the beginning. Everyone starts on Earth. It's very few people end up out around the asteroid belt, but
yes, yeah.
So let's just check out like the main section of Van Life. This is the second cut off of LUNR ECCOS. So that's like the form,
Yep.
without the melody yet.
Yep.
What I love about it is that kind of lives, that could be its own, doesn't need a melody.
Yeah.
It kind of stands alone.
Yep.
We did this where you were looping that from the very beginning there.
Correct.
That's just that whole, what we just, 1 minute and 8 seconds is the loop.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And this is, I'm so glad you were
What's up, Jeffrey?
a great sport about this one, because this is a really hard loop to play along with because it's so wide open. There's no clear like pickup to the downbeat,
Right.
or anything that would give you a hint as to where it goes. And I think we found the hack was your trigger pad.
That trigger pad is in the tempo of the song. So if when in doubt we started to get off, I would hit that and it would remind us. We'll bring it back if we stay on this.
Yeah, this is home base.
So then the melody comes in.
Yeah, and unlike last time, this is more open-ended.
Oh, the melody itself is improvised.
Yeah, correct.
So I'm having to listen through his improvisation to try to hear that loop. You can hear it. It's a little bit of pregnant pauses, but we had to live with it.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's like, where's it at? There it is.
Yeah.
Are you playing this live right now?
And then this is the new cut point for the rest of the piece.
And then we get into going wherever it goes. So I had the same approach, thinking I'm introducing weightlessness, just like in Last Time Through.
Yep.
Even though it's I'm still thinking the pulse, but
Yeah.
and that loop is not hitting the downbeat anymore.
That was one of the big keys that we took away is the functionality in that looper. You can play the loop backward after you record it, and what that does now, by flipping it, there's not a hard downbeat anymore. It swells into the note,
Right.
and makes it really ambiguous, so it can move around the bar line and not, you don't feel, unlike the original loop where we had to really be
Yep.
very adjudicated and deliberate about where we put things.
It's so freeing because it's rhythmic, but it's not timed.
Yeah, and something like that too. It's there's two distinct chords there, so melodically gives you something to jump off of too, and is something that while I'm playing with you, I can listen to that in the other ear and say, oh, okay, let me follow the changes, let me make the changes with it, and it's kind of fun whenever that happens at odd places in the measure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a collage. It ends up being just a collage of sound, so none of this, to me, has any kind of linear process. It's not a start and a finish like you're telling a story. It's an event. It's a scene. It's a like we're gonna sit in this world. Like if you just go hang out in a train station, there's so many things happening in different rhythms. But the longer you sit there, you're like, there's a rhythm to this chaos.
Yeah.
It's a cycle, and then you go to a different place, go downtown, or go to a park, and it's the same thing. There's always cycles happening, but it's not like I'm going to tell you a story about a kid who gets up and does this thing, and then the next thing happens.
Yeah, and that was something again that we went into it and were very deliberately ungroovy about the whole thing.
Yeah, the groovy thing. Maybe we'll definitely revisit it, but it felt to me like if it's going to make me wish we had more people in the band, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that to me felt like if we're going to play groovy stuff, I'm kind of locked. You're kind of locked.
Yeah, right.
Then how do you be creative?
Exactly. Yeah, and especially with two people, it became way too much of a challenge to make it fun for us to improvise. Like improvisation was such a big part of the goal.
Yeah.
It really took that ability away.
So then this just kind of ventures into the unknown. I think in a much more kind of positive, uplifting way versus last time through, which is like, shit, we've got to go through this.
Yeah.
We've got to go through some real...
It's abrasive. Yeah.
Real harsh realities. So that swirls. I don't want to play the whole thing because this track's 15 minutes. Those of you who are on here watching, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, man, let me know if you want to hear about the gear we're using. You can definitely get a copy of this. You can hit me up. I'll mail it out. $15 with shipping if you're in the U.S. $10 if you can make your way here to Pittsburgh, and we'll give it to you.
Yeah, and speaking of a great reason to make it to Pittsburgh.
All right.
Yeah, November 10th, we are having a release show for the album at Club Cafe.
Soon to be no longer.
Yeah.
It's one of the last. Well, maybe someone might buy it, I guess. But
I hope so. We'll sneak in under the deadline.
Yeah. So what's that? November 10th. The record is available digitally the 8th, streaming.
Friday the 8th. Yep.
Which, if that's the way you have to consume it, by all means, we will never see a single penny from that. So if you would like to support what we're doing, it's the $10 or $15 is the way to go. Or come to the show. We might give you one. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're local too, we'll be at Hawthorne.
That's right. I'm doing a workshop 28th?
I think so, yeah.
It's a Monday. It's the Monday before, 2 Mondays before.
It's the Monday before Halloween. So
yeah, 28th. Where I'm planning, it's technical Gig drum clinic. Tim's going to be there. We're going to play some of this stuff. I'm going to deconstruct how I practice to allow me to do things like playing with loops that have no clear pulse. And we'll kind of just break down some of these tunes. But yeah, that's always fun. That's free. That's October 28th over at Hawthorne Drum Shop. Okay, so this tune kind of swirls and goes. Again, I'm kind of like playing the clouds, I guess. I mean, it's just, it's just a texture.
Well, and then I start adding in all these extra things. I know weird was the word we used
Yeah.
constantly.
It's not really that weird. Maybe we've just been living with it for so long.
Yeah, I was used to it. But so trying to find not guitar sounds.
Yeah.
Was a big thing.
And then you kind of play an epic solo over top of it. I wanted to get to the next section. Oh, I'm playing an African drum here. So we kind of fell into a 12/8 feel. I don't remember how or why. We just did.
Yeah.
Which again, I think falls into you're still grounded, you're still have a positive outlook on everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, you can hear all the things swirling in the background in the loop. They're kind of haphazard and all over the place, but we've locked in and you don't mind it.
Yeah, those little like digital things pop out every once in a while. It's a lot of ear candy. Oh, wait a minute. He just got a question. Hold the phone. What was the guitar pedal setup for the final recording, and was that the same setup you started with, or did you change things?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So mostly the same from beginning to end. How I set up my board of pedals, I did this right before we started getting together after having a lot of different gigs that needed different things all the time. I created a board that is pretty modular. So the essentials are all to the board all the time, and then you see I patch in different pedals or different things I need and use maybe like a loop switcher or something to activate them so that the button's always there. But then I could put different pedals in those loops, and I don't have to bring a giant pedal board that'll do every single gig I'm going to play.
You're talking about effects loops, not audio loops.
Correct. Yeah, effects loops. Sorry. Yes, a lot of loops to juggle here. But yeah, so it was pretty much my core pedal sound, and then what the new kind of pedals that I brought into this were an Electro-Harmonix ring modulator. That was a big part of this sound and the sound of this record. A Keeley ECCOS pedal, which was like a nod in the title, that allowed me to do a lot of different things with delay and sound-on-sound looping to create some of the compositions. And then the looper I used was a Pigtronix Infinity 3 looper, and it provided all that extra functionality that allowed us to compose and do a lot of different soundscapey things with all of the guitar. And then that's just run in with a heavy amount of reverb and everything into the amp.
So this is the ring modulator, right? Rust of a Red Star?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is track 4. I think you just brought this pedal in when we started working on this element.
Like that. Yeah.
I'll talk about my drum setup next, but that's the ring mod.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it was the perfect contrast to the verby delay.
Yeah.
It brought this like element of gnarliness.
And especially once we kind of got in like a theme of like technology and space and this kind of cold, maybe unwelcoming feeling about some of those topics. It really captured all of that in a tone and made a lot of sense. What was really fun about that pedal too is I had not really explored it and didn't really know the theory behind what a ring modulator was, and came to find, well, it's a lot of things. With a lot of knob tweaking and everything, that pedal makes a half dozen different sounds on that record, not just kind of your traditional ring mod sound, which was really fun and really cool. It became an experimentation workstation in some ways.
So that track, we'll end van life discussion from there. It ended. How does it end? It ends with us.
We do go back to the form at the very end of it.
Yeah. Just buy the record. You'll hear it. It's a nice story. It's an epic tale of traveling around in a van that ends up launching you into outer space. And how do you deal with that? We're kind of going out of order because the third song to me it's called Prairies and Ghosts. That represented, you're in outer space, everything is, your whole concept of reality is gone.
Yeah.
And your whole concept of being what a human is gone. All your memories start coming back, all your ghosts start revealing themselves. The further and further you get away from Earth, you're like, is this the end of what it all makes me a human? So that track, we'll play a little bit of that, but we just did Rust of a Red Star, so this to me was you're out in the space junk area of, like dead satellites and just the danger of outer space. I should have brought it in here. I have this weird melodic, semi-melodic metal thing. First or second time we got together, I was like, I need to figure out how to use this stupid thing. I've had it for like 20 years, and not once has it been like, play that thing.
Yeah.
So it's like this metal disc, probably a 1/4 inch thick of steel that has been slotted, sort of like a slit drum. It has some sort of scale. I don't know what the scale is. Mm-hmm. And I laid a Meinl Kessing, which is like a djembe shaker. That's like a sheet metal with all these rings on it. So I laid that on top of it, so it just sounds like absolute trash. I'm hitting it with a triangle beater.
Yeah.
And like a rubber mallet. Also have a triangle on the floor tom that I'm playing. So this was, I think you dubbed it like the anti-drum feature or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like I thought about, once we kind of had this idea of an epic thing, like something like, not that, we're anywhere near that level, but like a Love Supreme, where they have that middle section that, has all that beautiful drum feature. And kind of a nod to that, and something that was really different. There's no loops, there's no big reverby, spacey, anything happening. We wanted something, I remember, like a palate cleanser in between all that.
Yeah.
Something that, okay, you just listened to this for a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
Let's give you something a little bit different here.
Let's give you a totally jarring nugget. So I'm just like playing this weird mishmash of trash. And you're using the ring mod to do whatever.
And I'm just kind of keeping that pattern, yeah.
I'm destroying my drum heads with a triangle beater. So that kind of lives there. That's like the drum feature of the record. I love it. This is like the if you're a fan of drumming, this ain't it. Of traditional drumming. I've never wanted to make music where it's like a showcase of skill. Mm-hmm. I think I don't want my record to be a business card for what I can do on the instrument. So to have the drum feature be something where I'm using a triangle beater and like a rubber mallet, and I'm hitting an Allen Abel triangle and this weird thing with a noise maker on it, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and there was definitely an element, I think we both went through, of deprogramming to come up with a lot of these tunes, to take everything that you've done in other gigs, be it pop gigs or rock gigs or blues gigs or jazz gigs or whatever, and to just leave it at the door and, kind of channel that amateurism of, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know what the results are going to be, but I want to try it to the nth degree to, mine for that gold.
That's probably what I'm going to start the master class. I'll let you know now.
Yeah.
Play like a child. I tell everyone, if you're nervous about improvising or you don't know how to be quote unquote creative, just play your instrument like a child and just keep doing it until you're not embarrassed anymore. It's going to sound like shit, but that's the point. And then you can say, well, it sounded like shit, but it felt cool. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do to then make it not sound like shit, but still feel cool? Like put some parameters on yourself and then open up all those doors. But if you can't just sit down and just make beautiful noise, I don't think you can ever, that's the biggest hurdle for me. As soon as I hit the instrument, I'm judging myself, and that's the anti approach for this, I think. So for having this weird kit, it prevents me from saying I'm playing a drum solo and all my heroes are watching me. Mm-hmm. I'm playing a bunch of garbage, so you can't judge it because you don't have this. This is my beautiful garbage.
No, you're 100% right. Yeah, it takes all the other people out of the room, and now we're doing something that is uniquely us, because why would you have this amass of all these weird pedals and drums and weird percussive things together? Yeah, it was really liberating in that way.
What's up, Frisco? Good to see you. So my kit, I had a custom bebop kit made. It was the first Bucks County kit I ever got. Actually, it was one I reviewed and ended up buying it. No, I reviewed a similar one that had one made. So it's a 12, 14, 18 with a 5.5 by 14 snare. But Chris at Bucks County, a couple of years ago or last year, just said, I'm going to make you some concert toms. Like, he was in a mode of making concert toms. I was like, all right, cool. We'll make them match my bop kit, because that's going to be my like weird experimental kit. Years before we had even met, I think.
Yeah.
So he made these things, and they just been sitting there. Like, I have these silly, amazing concert toms, and I have this beautiful, gorgeous bebop kit. So that, the first time I got together, I was like, I'm just going to set all this crap up. Mm-hmm. Kind of a nod to Jack DeJohnette, because it's in the 90s, he had setups that were just so freaking weird. You'd have an 8 and a 10, like in a place that seemed impossible to play. Mm-hmm. So I have it set up where the concert toms are stacked over above the hi-hat to the left of the rack tom. And then the third concert tom is where a second rack tom would be. So I can play just the concert toms from this position, or I can play the regular drums. So it's not like I have to go to a spot to play the concert toms. They're kind of all interlocking, and they're clear heads on those, coated. So they're two totally different beasts. And I have the main drums padded up with burlap. So they're just dead. They're just thumpy marching band sounding. And that was very deliberate too. I wanted that contrast, the bright and kind of melodic toms with these thuddy, earthy, you can't really tell, is that a tom, is it a bass drum, what is it? That was what Joe said. I was like, I don't even know what's going on in the drums. Like, am I supposed to mix the toms? I'm like, just think of it like a marching band in the distance. That's what my drum sound should be. So that's that. Cymbal-wise for me, it changed a little bit. I ended up landing on 2 flat rides and a sizzle ride. It's not what I started with. I found that when we first got together, the volume, it can't get too loud for this to work right.
Yeah, correct.
I had to be very careful with keeping it at a tolerable level, even when we were playing intensely. Mm-hmm. So all my decisions were made to, like, how do I make this drum set something I can play and not have it get out of control? Yep. So 2 flat rides, sizzle ride, real thin, old 14-inch hi-hats. What else do I have? I've got like a spiral thing. Yeah,
got the great maraca debate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good comment. If anybody has a good maraca suggestion for you.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's go to that tune. So yeah, I wanted to heroes. I wanted to ask you about your heroes, but
yeah,
some of my biggest influences recently, Jim Keltner. Not when he's playing pop music, maybe also when he's playing pop music, but when he's playing like improvised music, he plays like a child. He's got that like aesthetic of, I'm gonna just do stuff, and if I like it, I'll do it again. If I don't like it, I'll just move on to something else. And particularly Bill Frisell, Good Dog, Happy Man, Gone Like a Train, those 2 records. Yeah. That was kind of like, if I'm going to do improvised music, it's got to be in that world where it's kind of rooted in earthiness and innocence. Yeah. Not like, let me play some amazing drums that makes everyone go, ooh, he should win awards for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, Jim Keltner, Matt Chamberlain, Glenn Cochee, Jack DeJohnette, Elvin Jones. That's my 5 biggest influences for the kind of music that we are creating.
Yeah.
Who are yours?
Yeah. Oh man, what a great question. I mean, Frisell was a constant, and the thing I love about what he does is, no matter whether he's playing very simple harmony or very complex X-rated harmony, it all sounds so melodic. It sounds so personal. His personality is a part of it. You never get that sense that this is how he actually plays and here's him flexing for a gig or something like that. And a lot of these pieces, you know, the harmony wasn't incredibly complex, mostly because there wasn't somebody who was holding down changes all the time. So yeah, that you passed me that Gone Like a Train record, and there's a great review. I forget who wrote the review, but they made the joke, you know, Mel Bay must be crying in his beer somewhere because it's all like very simple harmonic ideas, but he milks them for such, you know, just heart-rendering, you know, emotional content, despite not having all the kind of bells and whistles or traditional like jazz music. So that was great. You know, another person, whenever we went in, you kind of pitched it again, is let's do something that's not like anything else we've done, is Nels Cline. I think he's such an innovator with a guitar, the way he makes a guitar not sound like a guitar at all, the way he plays with time, the way he plays with tone and timbre, were really inspiring, both of them, for these records. And they kind of were you know, kind of the angel and devil on each shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, very pretty, very melodic, very emotional, very beautiful, you know, very abrasive, very angular, very, you know, avant-garde on the other.
Yeah.
And those were kind of the two extremes I was bouncing between whenever we were putting these pieces together.
Yeah, I don't think we ever talked about Wilco, but that's probably our common thread that makes this make sense, you know, because we're not, you know, we're not coming from a jazz world. For me, we're coming from, how does Wilco take a folk song and make it avant-garde?
Yeah.
And like that last time through, when we just hold that tension for probably 15 seconds longer than anyone wants us to, that's a Wilco move.
Yep.
Where they will just hit something, I think it's Misunderstood or something.
Yes, yeah. And
where you're like, how many times is he going to freaking say that?
Oh, man, I remember listening to that. I bought what's the live album, Kicking Television?
That's the one. That's the record that made me a Wilco fan.
Oh, yeah, that was it too. That was it too, because I didn't have a lot of money, and I saw that record at the store, and it had most of the songs that people had told me, like, oh, this is a great song, this is a great song. So I bought that one. And it had, I'm pretty sure that's the first with Nels and that.
Yep, that's the band, yeah.
As it is today, and yeah, that opening track, just, you know, being an angry teenager.
Yep, that and what they do with Via Chicago.
Yeah,
where Jeff just kind of just keeps singing this beautiful, creepy folk song while the band just plays absolute chaos behind them, and they build it up to the point where you're like, this is so freaking annoying. It drops out, and you're like, how did they do that?
Yeah, right.
They're right back into the song.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So yeah, I think Wilco for me as a band, as aesthetically, has been Wilco and Frizzell probably are my biggest influences for what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just their projects, the aesthetics that they've, because I wanted it to be, we talked about it, I wanted this to be music that anyone could enjoy or listen to and not have it be, again, this like academic exercise. I wanted it to be something you could pay attention to and really dig in with headphones, or you could just play it in the background. I found it's really nice when you're in traffic.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of like, it makes everything just, whatever, dude, honk at me. It doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a record to put on and just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been, when I was listening to mixes, when we were going through it, or even after the fact, just check in with it maybe every couple weeks, like, oh, how's that feel? Or just to remind yourself, if we're getting together, what did I do there?
Yeah, right.
You know, maybe remember what maybe my approach was on something like this. Yeah, it is. You find yourself kind of zoning out to it, and absorbing it.
So the tune Prairies and Ghosts, which I kind of gave my narrative of it, which the title kind of came to me because of that. It's like we're in the prairie of outer space, like this beautiful place, but then there's all these psychological demons, and it's in there. The music, especially Joe was able to accentuate all that ghostly stuff in such a beautiful way. Like, man, you creeped me out with something that is aesthetically quite beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So to me, this is the most Frizzell of what we do.
Especially the intro part, yeah.
Yeah, so here's a little bit of Prairies and Ghosts. You wrote this on the spot? I don't remember.
Yeah, we were just kind of vamping a thing. Yeah.
Like I grabbed a maraca and it just became a thing. A maraca with tube socks on it. You can already hear it. That stuff in the background is Joe.
Yeah.
And it's so creepy.
Yeah.
But we're like just in this beautiful thing, but it's like, yo, there's these, yo. And that's him doing something with my maraca. Check it out. Like the creepiness gets more and more. So you did something there
Yeah, that part got moved.
and flipped.
Yeah, right. And then again, it takes off the downbeat.
I think that's when I start to change, yeah. We didn't discuss any of these arrangements. This was one that just we kind of hit magic.
Yeah. Yeah, this was when I remember tracking it. There was no thinking.
Mm,
It was just playing.
yeah,
And the tune ended and we were like,
yeah.
okay.
And we're like, that was 19 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a 19-minute track.
Yeah.
I gave a copy of this to Throck. He's like, oh, you guys put it on EP? I'm like, nah. It's a full
It's a full
length. It's 5 songs.
Yeah, yeah. Any
Songs.
of you were disc jockeys looking for a bathroom? Yeah.
So this one was like an A-B. We had that earthy kind of rooted thing where I've got maracas and eventually kind of go away to get into more kind of ECM-ish world. And then it shifts. And I think we talked about it for a bit, like how do we, because it's a totally different key, right?
Yeah, yeah. We kind of had two pieces of a song that didn't really easily go together, and I remember the back half of it had quite a few different iterations. We tried it in a few different formats, and finally what you got kind of the looser. I think we found like in general just loosening things up and trying to pin fewer things down. We were more successful in getting it to feel good and play right.
Yeah, it was one of those where like should we write a transition, like something where we would play together, but then it became again, no, we don't want to make this academic. Just
and then just all of our improvisation would have been like funneled into that and then funneled out of it.
Yeah.
And something that's really cool, like I'm pretty sure, did I play slide on this in the recording?
Yeah.
I think there's like a little bit of that. Like some of those things, again, it was just like that was something that I did that I think you thought we were going to do more of that going into it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, when I originally reached out to you, I thought like pedal steel kind of sounds.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
some of those Daniel Lanois records.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Yeah, and it just never it never became apparent. But in this recording, I pulled it out and it felt really right and did some cool things. And yeah, whereas if we would have had that pinch point in the middle,
Yep.
I'm not sure we would have hit some of that magic.
So it kind of, I remember, this has since become my favorite cut on the record. As we were workshopping this, we probably did like 6 different versions of it. Each time I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which to me means keep going, because that's the point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, my intuition is telling me to do something that I don't even think is good. I mean, I'm going to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it eventually became a thing. And then it wasn't until I heard the mixes that Joe had found the beauty in the kind of silliness that I was bringing to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, he found it. He made it make sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's all like, you know, I'm still kind of playing the form while you're getting more and more kind of out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, the toms kind of take over.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this tonight. I feel like this song is like crossfades, where it's pay attention to the guitar, pay attention to the drums, pay attention to the guitar without any discussion. It's just I can kind of just sense when you're about to take a breath, and then I'll poke forward.
Yeah.
It gives you a chance to reset all your what you got going on too.
My space station. Yeah.
So when we made the transition, see if I can find it.
Yeah.
It's after that, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes to all these different worlds. It's kind of like its own little EP. But we hit the change right together
Yeah.
without even looking at each other, which we've been chasing ever since, I think.
Yeah.
It's been our ghost.
Yeah. I think right here.
Yeah, you've got all these blippies.
Yeah, and those were all in the moment like, oh shoot, just do. And I was like,
It's the ghost.
I liked everything that came before it, so gotta live with it.
Oh, this is the change.
Yeah.
It was before that. And Joe hit it again. When you listen to this, when you buy a copy, $10 if you get it in person, 15 if you want it shipped. Joe heard it because all the effects disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we hit that chord, it was like poof, natural again.
Yeah.
I was like, how did he hear that? What's up, Cameron? Hope you like spacey abstract music. Right there. All the effects go away. And it's just us back again.
Yeah.
That's kind of, to me, like a manic episode that, like, we come back to reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all these demons, all these things are swirling, and it's like, oh, I'm just going this way.
Yeah.
Or what am I doing? It's like, what's in my hands? What is happening?
Well, I know for me, like, the story of this song was like an idea that, like, blooms and opens. And, like, whenever you're brainstorming and thinking of an idea, it starts with this very childlike, as we said, very simple, innocent thought. And then as you brainstorm, it starts to grow on its own. And
Yeah.
it grows in unexpected ways that you can't really control, that you don't have any idea about where it's going and what's happening. And then eventually you have that moment of singularity where,
Yeah.
oh, this is it. This is how it realizes itself, or this is how I achieve, what I was trying to do. And I think it really musically captures that eureka, like, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we go in this direction.
Yeah, you've got your weird little pixie ghost going. I'm playing annoying toms.
Oh, I love them, but they mix so well because you have the guitar kind of doing patty kind of stuff at the bottom. You have this up top, and then it just cuts right in the middle. I think it's great.
Anyone who's studied classical percussion, this is definitely coming out of like Steve Reich or some of the John Cage percussion pieces or Xenakis, where it's a lot of toms moving constantly. Rebounds, I think, is one of the tunes. The concert tom just, I mean, that's why I wanted to have them there, because I think like a percussionist. I think I might play 3 beats on this entire record. Like, how are those little things there? It's like a perfect little counterpart.
Yeah, right. Again, it's almost like another soloist.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, that's just.
And then and I kind of settled into more of a pattern. And then you started syncopating. It took me a minute to figure out what you were doing.
Yeah.
Hey Cameron, glad you dig it. Hit me up if you want a disc. Now we're letting the pixies fade away, right?
Yeah, right.
And now you're starting to hear there's a new progression happening. This is very Xenakis for me. Yeah, now you start syncopating. I'm like, well, what the hell did you just do? Took me a minute to like, did you lose the one or? I'm like, no, he didn't, because I gave it to you. And then we hit it together. Yeah. Yeah.
Drops out.
Then we're in the next story, the next chapter of the song.
Yeah.
That's 14 minutes in, anyone following along. Then it gets into kind of a, let's go back before the main theme.
There's the slide,
Yeah. Yeah, you'd reverse some stuff. Yeah, I'm more Jack DeJohnette, ECM world. So when we first started this project, it was when I was like, I don't know what I'm playing. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
like
the same. Yeah.
Like, how do I make this make sense? I know what I don't want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do I decide what I want it to be? I was having coffee with my buddy Brian Wolf, because we just did like a duet where he wrote it and we played it. So we're kind of in that world, just talking. He's one of my favorite drummers and a hero of mine. I was like, how do you, if you're going to improvise for 45 minutes, how do you decide what to play? You know, like how do you not just have it sound like nonsense for 45 minutes? Mm-hmm. And he was like, that's scary. He's like, I'm not good. That's not really my bag, but I would think, what's your palette for a given moment?
Yeah.
What's your sounds? What are you going to focus on? And then change to something else to make a decision. So you're not playing everything all the time, all at once.
Yep.
And this tune for me was that as an exercise. I'm only going to play the muted toms. I'm only going to play the melodic toms. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to play the cymbals. I'm going to bring in the snare drum at the end with the wires on. I'm not going to play the snare drum at any point before that.
Yeah.
So we were able to play 19 minutes where I feel like I even though it's not I don't think it's a tune that goes like up and down dynamically. It's just kind of like sounds that morph.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's still a cool story.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it all feels like a curiosity to me, that it's just continuing to like burrow deeper into whatever it is.
When did this melody come in? Not that, when you get to the main. I think maybe we were doing it more deliberately, and
I think it started out, and I know we were talking about like
here's the melody.
yeah.
Like hinting at it. I think we were playing this a lot louder originally.
Yeah, and we were talking about like Matheny was kind of like like those kind of live bands.
Yes.
You know, trying to get that kind of.
What was that particular track that I think I might have sent you where he comes in just wailing? It's the
Oh,
Kenny Garrett.
The Brian Blade thing, right?
Yeah. That was the other guy, hat guy. What's his name? He's one of the new Young Lions guys from the '90s.
Oh.
Help me out.
Shoot. Rosenwinkel.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Rosenwinkel. Yeah. I was thinking of it was the Kenny Garrett, John Coltrane tribute record, Pursuance.
Yeah.
When he comes in, just wow.
No, those are great.
Yeah. So this to me was like play like what Matheny would do or something, or Rosenwinkel.
Yeah, my cheap imitation.
But then you landed on this melody.
Yeah.
I remember now what I need to remember to do when we perform this. I want you to be balls to the wall, and I'm not.
Yeah, in that moment. Yeah.
Where you're like literally standing at the end of a cliff screaming, and I'm still just back here like percolating.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
And it builds.
Like one of my favorite moments comes after this, like right at the end of the track.
How far? We got 2 minutes to go.
Probably pretty close to the end.
All right.
Right here, I love this. And
Yeah,
I do like
spur
a
of the
quick
moment.
thing after this.
Oh yeah, and it goes into the next tune. Joe is bringing all that shit back. Joe, you got to come on the road with us.
Yeah. And we're back. I just love that little bit there.
Yeah, kind of forecast the next tune where you're playing all mod.
Yeah, and it was like you mentioned with the palette. It was one of those times where I felt like I'm locked into what this soundscape is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, and I'm not just improvising notes, but let me grab this, let me grab that, you know. And it was very spontaneous. Not let me premeditate this.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this pedal here and step on it here.
Yeah, or using them all the time. You know, like
Right.
if you would have brought that ring mod in any other point in the tune, it would have been that wouldn't have been like as cool.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's just for the last 15 seconds.
Yeah. Right there.
All right. Well, that is the record. We kind of covered them all.
Yeah.
First time through. We can just do a little teaser on that. So we had all these compositions together.
Mm-hmm.
Compositions, quote unquote. And we needed something to kind of start the record.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was me or you, but I remember making a comment saying, if we're going to perform this stuff, people show up to see us play, the first couple notes we play has to like establish what the hell this is. So
Mm-hmm.
it has to be, you're going to hear guitar, you're going to hear drums right away.
Yep.
Nothing else. No tracks, no, it's like this is what we're dealing with. So that's what I was thinking when we trying to make our intro track.
Yeah. Well, and you'll notice the first track we played last time through, there's a tease of the melody from that track, from the head of that. And that was, again, that idea of this, this thing that keeps your humanity, this simple melody, that you kind of, throughout this entire journey, you still have this at the core of you. You start with it, you end with it. And that never leaves you, no matter where you go. So I thought it was really important that we just introduce that there, and then you realize it fully at the end.
And this was fully improvised. This is definitely one I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Because you're doing this like long loop. It's not even a loop, it's like a feedback, right?
Yeah, so it is like you set the duration, and what it is, the sound on sound with this is based on Frippertronics, the looping technique that Robert Fripp invented with 2 tape machines, basically. So one records it to the tape, and then the other plays it back. And then you just keep recording over what you previously did. So what that does is, as the loop kind of goes around multiple times, it gets recorded over by whatever you're putting in. And it was such a different approach, and it gave such a different tempo and feel to the improvisation from the other pieces we did with a static loop that lives there the whole time, and you decide where it comes and goes. It was really fun, and in this take especially, the goal I always have is if I can try to establish a pulse with it. Sometimes if you put too much information in, it gets too chaotic, or if you put too little in, you never build the pulse. It's too out there and too spacey. So there's that tightrope you have to walk of, how do I make this, give it momentum, and keep it going so that you have something to bounce off of, and it's not just kind of chaotic. And that was a fun challenge to learn how to play with that specific pedal to do that.
And I'm deliberately not playing anything remotely referencing any kind of pulse, because I want it to be like I'm throwing my drum set downstairs. So all these sounds you're hearing right now, you're going to hear explored throughout the record. But the challenge is, how do I do that without being destructive? How do I? Yeah. It's like painting with finger paints. If you go too crazy, it's just brown. Yeah. I'm trying to avoid the brown.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great analogy.
So how far can I push it and still have it have some texture? This was one I don't think I've ever really found it, but this is the closest I've found it. So it's like hello, we play drums and guitar. That's it. It's a little bit weird. That's kind of what this is for me. So this is first time. Which is funny now listening back. When we recorded this, I had no freaking clue where year 1 was.
Right, yeah.
Where that thing was going to start over. I had no idea. As soon as we start now, I can hear it.
Yeah, right.
But at the time, I was like, where's that chord? There it is. Okay.
Yeah, that was my 3M.
This tune to me feels like a wind chime. We're both like just human wind chimes.
I listen to it now, and I have fun trying to figure out what's the real time guitar.
Yeah, right.
What am I actually playing in that moment? And what's been pre-recorded at that point?
Which is awesome. and that's the main theme. Kind of a foreshadowing of the somewhat tragic demise of your spacecraft. Yeah, it literally sounds like you went by a wind chime and went like this, and it's just,
Yeah.
all these things are still kind of settling. So if you can't tell, to me, music is very visual. And I think in soundtracks. I think it's probably why I'm not a big fan of songs per se, unless there's some sort of sonic element that is visual for me. I love Bob Dylan theoretically, and sometimes I actually do love Bob Dylan, but I will never listen to Bob Dylan for pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I've definitely, there's a line between, and I have to pick which side am I going to be on. Am I going to be in songwriter side or in sound, music, scapey side? Because I appreciate, I mean, how do you just keep turning line after line like that? It's just, it's insane. But yeah, with something like this, or even those kind of tracks, I do long for something that creates a world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want just a simple 2/4 and, okay, here we go, let's do it.
Yeah.
I want it to feel lived in. I want to feel like I'm in the room, not just, hey, I get it, you're good, or yeah, every song needs a beat, every song needs whatever, to get it going. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that, and a lot of the newer artists I like. Specifically, definitely adhere to that ethos of, it's more sound design than it is songwriting.
Yeah, I don't know why that is for me. I don't know if it's being a child of the 80s and just everything was just so surreal. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I put on Brian Eno for pleasure. His ambient records to me are just so satisfying.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it out. How can you take ambient music that has no rhythm, no form, no structure, and then make it a platform for two human beings to have a real-time conversation, but still maintain that aesthetic? So I feel like you could put this record on and it is just an ambience. It's not like you're paying attention to the storyline or the arc so much. I think it's just things just evolve. So that, I feel pretty proud of it. Sometimes I'm I still hate the way I play, but
Always.
I feel like we hit that aesthetic. It's funny because, again, Throck was like, are you playing beats on this? I'm like, no, not at all. And I thought if we came out with a beat record, this would never work if we tried to follow it up.
No.
We start with this, and then we can introduce some something else.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's so much fun because it's challenging for us both to create and then challenging to listen back and be critical of and to understand it once it exists.
Mm-hmm.
To give credit to people like Joe and EJ who saw what maybe sometimes we didn't.
Yeah.
And helped us to realize what a gift that was.
Yeah, so that's it. That's Lunar Echoes. Thank you all for logging on. Hope you enjoy it, and maybe this will be your kicking television. This will be your pathway into checking out some more experimental music. That would be nothing. That would be the greatest thrill for me if people come up to me and say, "I'd never listened to anything like this ever before. I love what you're doing. What else can I listen to that's in this world?" Because when I heard Kicking Television, which then led me to Glenn Cochi's solo records, that was it. Game over. When I heard that, it was like now the drums can do anything you can ever imagine.
Yeah, I went the other way to Nels Cline Singers, and same thing. It was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
You could put that on a record and
Right. I didn't want this to be like, man, you guys are so good, I could never do that kind of stuff. That's the worst,
I put on Charlie Parker when
Yeah, which is great, but and I didn't want to label it as jazz. It's not jazz. What do you label it as?
Yeah.
Ambient, experimental.
I don't know. Yeah, it's music. It's whatever.
Right.
It's whatever. It's however it fits into your life. I think that's great.
Well, check it out. It'll be available everywhere, digitally. We might do another stream before then.
Yeah. Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in.
We could do, that's November 8th. You can purchase advanced copies. We have them here. The official release date is the 10th, but obviously we have the copies. So if you want one, just hit us up. $15 to ship it US, $10 if you can make your way to Pittsburgh. Make your way to Pittsburgh on the 10th.
Yep, Sunday, November 10th.
Club Cafe.
Yep.
Come join the party. We have a special beer being brewed.
Yeah.
Right? Is that happening?
Yeah, 4 Points Brewing, they rock.
So they did a special LUNR ECCOS beer, or hopefully we'll have it soon to sample.
Yeah, they will. They'll have cans available. We'll have some cool artwork. That might be a fun thing to grab as well.
Yep.
While you're there.
We've got a awesome opener.
Yeah, Picasso's going to do a cool DJ set, so you can come in, grab the beer, check it out, hang out, get settled, and then whoop up this release with us. If it helps us out a whole lot. If you want to grab your tickets now, you can head to Club Cafe's website. I know we've been posting a lot of the links and everything.
It's clubcafelive.com.
I
believe
so.
so. It'll route you to the proper spot.
I just Googled Mike Dawson to Vitullo Club Cafe.
Yeah, you'll find it. Yeah.
And it comes right up. So.
Yeah, so come join us. Come join the party. And if you're in the area on October 28th at Hawthorne Drum Shop, we'll get nerdy. We'll basically kind of show you under the hood of everything that we're doing to make this kind of stuff happen. I've got a ton of curriculum I'm going to share to kind of help, because there's a lot that I had to develop as a musician, as a drummer, to feel comfortable saying, hey, you just loop some shit and I'll figure out how to play to it.
Yeah.
You know, that there's a lot I can't overestimate the amount of time. So I have some very specific things I want to share on that too. So it'll be a nerdy workshop. Also, it'll be weirdo abstract music as well. So
your guitar player friends can come and take pedal board pictures.
yeah, exactly. You're going to put like a sheath over it.
$5, please. I'll pick it up.
All right, everybody. If there's no other questions, thank you all for hopping on. We're going to go to bed.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right. See ya. Dope.